Welcome to the show. It's basically all about children and guns, which comes after the controversy a couple days ago from a shooting in Ohio. It was a 6th grader, a juvenile. A 6th grader who pulled out a handgun and started wounding 3 people. 2 students, one employee in the school. That was a janitor. Where are all the kids getting their guns from? How easy is it to hold out a gun? The law specifically states that no one is required to own a gun until the age of 18 or 21. There's the age difference. So what could a 6th grader possibly do? Well, my possibilities could be that student must have snuck down the handgun from the parents' room and brought it with him. And they have to cancel school. Well, they had to cancel school for that day because of what happened. Well, okay, that's good. But there is new developments in that Idaho school shooting. But the father of the teacher who disarmed the school describes what happened. And next week, they said to return to school next week as a suspect is booked into a 5C detention center. And they couldn't face murder charges. The doctor says the condition of the victim is in absolute beginning. But the father, who did not witness anything that took place, recalls in a conversation with her that night, and she described that since the shooting had sounded like it was down the hallway to let her kids get out of the room and run through that door and get out of the school. When you run to the high school that fast, and you can, as fast as you can, and you don't stop looking back for nothing. One of the injured students in the hallway picked him up the ground and brought him to safety, according to the father. When she did, she got blood all over him. She looked up and saw the girl standing across the hallway with the gun. So she sat the boy down and told him to be quiet and be still, and started walking towards the girl, talking to her very calmly, telling her things would be okay. We just needed to stop and think things through a bit and try to settle down. She put her hand up to the girl's arm and then just let her hand slide down the arm until it got to the gun. When she touched the gun, the girl let go of the gun. She took the gun and had her other arm around the girl, already kind of hugging her. She also says, I kept going and I felt like there was an angel on my shoulder telling me what to say and what to do. But in a Facebook post, it was written that her heart touched by the incredible opportunity to love and receive. Thank you. I don't want money. I appreciate the incredible support of Rigby. I love my students so much. It is why I teach. They make my heart happy every day. All the staff at Rigby did their part and kept the children safe. But in the wake of the shooting, Turnbaum says his daughter is preparing to return to the class as soon as she can. But next week, the suspect is booked into the 5C detention center. That's good. Justice will be served for that child. There's a very few incidents committed by girls. This is from the East Idaho News. They're trying to determine what prompted a young girl to open fire. The shooting happened around 9 a.m. on Thursday. But she has been identified. Chad Christensen said, "For those who stood in the way of my school carry bill, shame on you. I know who you are." The Idaho chapters of Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, both part of Everyday Town for Gun Safety, Gun Laws Advocacy Group, said forcing more guns into schools isn't the solution. And it's the first time it happened. In 1989, a student at junior high pulled a gun, threatened a teacher and students, and they took a 14-year-old girl hostage. They safely rescued the hostage from a nearby church about an hour later and took the teen into custody. No one was shot during that incident. Most attackers carried out deadly school shootings were male. 7 were female. According to the studies, researchers said 60% of the attackers were white, 15 were black, 5% were Hispanic, 2 were American Indian or Alaskan Native, 10% were 2 or more races, 5% were undetermined. So, in that case, 63% were white, many boys and girls. In 2006, lawmakers passed a bill that would allow most people to carry concealed weapons without a permit. But that right doesn't extend to schools, courthouses, or correctional facilities. And those studies about the males and females racist things after there was 2 recent studies. But there's more. The Rigby students have to return to school next week, and the suspect is booked into a 5-seat detention center. The suspect being a juvenile is likely charged in the court case filed against her could be sealed. The Jefferson County said in a news conference Thursday she could face 3 counts of attempted murder. The investigation to continue will take a considerable amount of time to detective analyze the evidence and witness information. Criminal charges with the suspect are pending at this time while the Jefferson County Prosecutor's Office reviews the information at hand. So, I'm glad that justice is being served for what's been happening here. But we're going to have more on this story as it continues on throughout the rest of the week. And up next here, our special on kids and guns, a day in the life. I mean, basically you have to be 18 or older to get a gun. So why are kids sneaking in their parents' rooms, getting that gun, and using it to shoot up a school? When the law specifically states you should be 18. But juveniles are under 18. And there has to be laws passed that would prevent violent juveniles from ever owning a gun. That's the law. Tonight, a special edition of Give Me a Break. Kids and Guns in America. A day in the life. Who has them? Why do parents need a gun? Why do kids sneak guns away from the parents' room? And why do violent juveniles always get their hands on a gun? It's just basically the rules. I mean, basically what I've been doing, I wanted to show about this because of all the guns, and I brought you tips about how to, on the right time and age. I mean, you need to meet. If parents out there, if you want to teach kids your child how to handle a gun safely, you need to make sure that they know a lot about how to handle a gun and how to defend themselves from a weapon. And just let them know about the laws. I mean, this comes from the second. There's plenty of states that take away. There's some states out there that take away their Second Amendment rights. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. But is this what the Founding Fathers had in mind? To put laws in? Everyone wants their Second Amendment rights. But when it comes to all these people, gun laws are... That's what happens with all these school shootings. There's gun laws out there. In Idaho, and basically in Idaho, you are allowed to carry a concealed weapon with no license. Texas, you are allowed to do the same. But what really needs to happen, we need to make sure that kids like the one in Idaho don't get into that gun. And in 1999, 200 million guns were privately owned and 35% were in households. But there's there's more about this than meets the eye. But there was back in 1999 there was 87 deaths per day, 87 average. But there's a lot more than meets the eye here. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen. What we exactly need to do is teach our kids how not to solve problems. I mean, people learn how to shoot because of video games. But there are statistics. Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed in gun homicide than other. Giffords Law Center. 39,000 Americans die from gun violence every year, at an average of 100 per day. And nearly every American will allow at least one victim of gun violence in their lifetime. A million Americans have been shot in the past decade, and gun violence rates are rising across the country. 4 years ago, gun deaths reached their highest level in at least 40 years, with 39,733 deaths that year alone. And during that year, suicides and homicides, police shootings, gun violence takes many forms, often dedicated by who and where you are. The majority of suicides, 51%, involve a gun. And there's a lot you can learn about the guns. Giffords.com/law/gun violence statistics has the right. And state by state, Alabama, every 9 hours. 'Over 1,000 gun deaths per year. Second highest death and gun rate with 21.6 gun deaths per 100 residents. All from this one page. As in Alaska, Alaska, 174. But the biggest one ever, like California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii. We go down to Texas here where we live. New Jersey, lowest numbers. The lowest numbers, North Dakota with 93. Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, 46. 908, South Dakota. Utah. We go down to Vermont. In Texas, 3455 gun deaths per year, the 28th gun death in the rate, with 12.3 gun deaths per 100,000 residents. But what about Idaho? The one where the school shooting happened. 264 gun deaths per year, with the 16th highest gun death rate, with 15.3 gun deaths per 100,000 residents. Their statistics show from 2013-2017, 1,56 people in Idaho died by gun-related suicide. And the young people in guns from 2008 to 2017, 364 people under the age of 25 were killed with a gun in Idaho. That's counting the school shooting. That's counting the shooting in the same state. Guns are the second leading cause of death for Idaho children ages 1 to 17. So if you really want to know, I'll put this in the link in the description below so that y'all can understand about what's going on. And this map here will understand. Homicide, 13,030. And this map, and we're still going to look at this website and talk about what people need to know. That's coming up on a special edition to Give Me a Break. Kids and Guns in America. A Day in the Life continues. Continuing our special edition to Give Me a Break, Guns and Kids in America. A Day in the Life. We're talking about this is focusing in on a shooting that happened a couple days ago. It's just that America has the weakest gun laws and the most guns. 393 million of any comparable nation. The U.S. accounts for just 4% of the world's population, but 35% of global firearm suicides. Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed in a gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And here's the graph. The low, Japan, low. South Korea, low. 12%. And the graph, the line goes flat. 2009, and since 2018, the highest one was 24,432. And the chart, suicide, 61%. Intentional undetermined shootings, that's 2.1. 35.6% are homicide. And all this right here, and the police shootings, 1.4. And guns are by far the most common means of suicide. Other means, that's low. 1690, 822. Falls, poison or overdose, 12,000. The highest one is the guns by 22,926. And gun homicides for black Americans. And just look at this one, 1.67. Blacks, 17.46. Hispanic, 3.4, 5.16, 0.97 for Asian American Pacific Islander. And the black man facing gun violence. All of them. Black women. The highest number goes up to this. It's like 100. This is low. Looks like it goes to 10. Indian. White women. This should be added up because of the shooting that happened this year. This is from the proceedings in the National Academy of Sciences. And the majority of intimate partner homicides were guns. 55%. Other, 8.7, 3.5 with blunt objects. This one, from knives, 21.8. Personal weapons. Asphyxiation and suffocation, 3.5. The second leading cause of death for children under 18. I mean, this gives us the answer here. But this was 2 years ago before, this was 2 years before the Idaho shooting. Guns, crashes are the biggest one ever, while guns are the lowest. And what I want to do right now is look at and compare state by state. Texas, suicide, homicide, with the gun, sole gun deaths, 3288. Florida, 260. Maine, 146. New Hampshire, 135. 74 in Vermont. Connecticut, 184. Massachusetts. Minnesota, 424. 94 in North Dakota. South Dakota, 142. 200 in Montana. Washington, 753. Oregon, 519. California, 3090. Nevada, 486. Arizona, 1096. Utah, 376. Colorado, 769. New Mexico. Nebraska. I think you get the picture here. But the highest gun deaths ever is possibly Texas. Texas is the highest rating, and everyone's allowed to carry a gun. But there's total gun deaths because of the gun laws. And what about Idaho? Tennessee? But let's focus in, but enough of what's happening. Let's focus in on the kids. Because I care about the children. They're juveniles. And especially in Michigan. New York. The lowest one ever is in Rhode Island. That's the lowest. But with a lot more shootings, there needs to be stricter gun laws. I care about what's going on in our country. That's why when I created this show 4 years ago, we're going to focus in on a lot of things. Guns, education, what to do with your kids. I was going to make this show a teaching tool and give you the facts that you need to protect your child. That's why I created the show. and all those violent juveniles want to get their hands on guns, state by state, all of the states. The highest one ever was in Tennessee. Was in Texas. Sorry. This website is a great tool. You got to take action here. And I'm proud for all the people who are taking action for all these shootings. We need to make sure that we continue doing this and fighting for our rights here. We got to make sure that we keep having gun policies in our local schools and teaching the kids how not to touch a gun. Eagle Eddie can help you out here. But the parents' fault for not teaching the child how not to use a gun. But all the parents out there, everybody who doesn't teach a child a gun knows how to. Everybody doesn't know how to teach a gun who don't know. Everybody wants to shoot up the school because of what happened. Everyone wants to post threats on that. Everyone in America probably doesn't have the right to post threats in a school area and determine whether or not they want to go shoot up a place. Almost all of everyone here wants to post threats and thinking, I'm not going to fall under the First Amendment. Well, think about what happened with this case here. In this case here, this student was posting something funny like F school, F this, F that. She got in trouble, she went to the Supreme Court, and we don't know what else happened. It's the parents' fault for not teaching them wrong from right. And not teaching them when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And that's the big part right here. When you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. Everybody has to understand that. In life, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. Every behavior that you choose, good or bad, it has to come with consequences. That's the whole thing. The whole thing. If kids choose to threaten to shoot up a school, that's their choice. The consequence for them, jail time, or suspension, or expulsion from school, whatever. It's the parents' fault for not monitoring their child. Parents out there, you need to monitor your child at all times, making sure that they stay out of trouble at all times. You love and nurture them a lot, you need to make sure they stay out of trouble. We're back in a moment. I want to do this special tonight because I want to teach, because it's part of my tradition to teach, for parents to teach kids responsibility for guns. So, yes, I understand you as a father want to teach your child, son or daughter, how to use a gun properly. But it comes to the price. What you need to do as a parent is make sure that they understand guns are not a toy, they're used for protection. And in this case that person who shot up the school in Idaho, where did she get that gun from? It wasn't a concealed handgun. She must have got it from her parents. Or she must have got it with a fake ID. Like most people get beers now and then. But parents out there, if you're going to allow your child to learn how to use a gun, you need to make sure you follow these rules. And I'll put all the resources we have in the description below so that way y'all can understand and y'all can get a better lesson here, because we have to teach kids now how to use guns as a toy. And if your child starts experiencing guns in video games, my advice to you, get the guns, get the car, go down to the gun show, walk away with a hat full of money, no guns. That's it. If your son wants to buy his gun on his own, that's his choice. But you have to let him know that permits come first and background checks come second. That's what comes first. That's all with Special Edition. Give me a break. Give me a break Saturday. I'm off on Sunday. So I'll see you if you give me a break Monday. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Good night.